Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Daincast. We have an ultra special extra deluxe game for you today. Spicy and hot from the replay folder of the legendary UK Protoss Zain. This is a little bit of an older game here, but this is game 2 in this grudge match series between Zain on his alt account Kaji here. I don't think he minds us telling the world about his secretive alt account now. And his opponent is the red Zerg in the top left-hand corner, disOrder. For those of you who missed game 1, this is a spicy rematch game. I believe they did this as a custom game between these two players because Zain playing on this account, he is making only sentries and overwhelming his opponents with raw macro. And he bullied disOrder, who is a high masters Zerg player, in the first game they played on ladder, but disOrder claims that he wouldn't have lost if he knew this was going to happen. There's no way he would have lost to you if you knew that this strategy was coming, because it was only sentries the entire game. But now Zain says, all right, let's go for it. Let's play a second game, and this is that game. So Zain now has his work cut out for him. He's going to have an opponent who has the potential to metagame him. Zain doing what we could describe, maybe with a whole lot of understatement, as a suboptimal unit composition, a suboptimal strategy. Zain making only sentries. He's going to have to pull out every trick in the book to play against an opponent who knows that this is coming. I think it took disOrder a while to realize what was happening last game, and he now has the replay to see exactly what Zain does. He's going to build bases all over the map. He's going to build a million cannons, and he's going to defend whatever you throw at him. But Zain does have a lot of tricks up his sleeve, and he has claimed that he has beaten multiple opponents multiple times with this before. So he is not a one-trick pony. He has lots of ways to win. It is a very, very, very difficult strategy to win with, but if anyone can do it, it's Zain. disOrder looking like he's going to be going for a fairly early pool here with a gas and a hatchery, so not going for a super early roach warren or anything like that, which honestly probably would just kill you if you're doing this. But obviously Zain's scouting. He knows that this is a possibility. He's going to be making sure he is reacting to everything that his opponent does, giving himself every possible chance to live in this game, scouting around with his probe. He's not going to see a third base just yet from the Zerg opponent, and he is going to be chronoing out a sentry. This Overlord just sitting here and spotting the natural is potentially going to get caught out once again, but last time we saw that these sentry did so little damage to this Overlord that he's going to be able to escape. So it's a little bit of an awkward situation here when you know that the opponent's going sentries. It's now up to you to figure out a strategy to win, but ultimately, as we learn in game 1, I don't think it's really about the strategy you use. I think it's more just about the raw mechanics and multitasking. You need to be able to defend the threats in your main, and you need to make good decisions. If your opponent builds 50 cannons, don't attack into the cannons. Zain is going for a very sneaky proxy base. He's going to try to get away with it once again in the corner of the map. He's going to hope not to get scouted, but this is going to mean that disOrder has to actually engage resources. He's going to have to invest resources into scouting the map. He might get lucky and just spot it right away, but I have a feeling that this base is going to get up and running sooner rather than later. disOrder making a lot of, well, potentially making a lot of links. He's getting his Zergling speed. He's droning up quite a lot. He's maintaining a more or less even worker supply to Zain, but as Zain is taking this proxy third at around the same time that disOrder is taking his, this is obviously going to be a favorable position in a normal Protoss versus Zerg game for the Protoss. But again, as a reminder, in order to win with Mass Sentry, you have to overwhelm your opponent with many more resources, because there's not really a way to get even trades with going for pure sentries. You have to have way more sentries than your opponent has. Either Hydralisks or Roaches or Zerglings or almost whatever it is, you need to have an overwhelming force. So disOrder is going to be going for a Roach Warren and a Lair, pretty similar to the build from the last game, but now he has that knowledge, and they say knowledge is power. Let's see if it gives him enough power to defeat this proxy base. If he watched the replay from game 1, he would know that Zain is going for these proxy bases all over the place relentlessly, but if he just queued into the game right away, he might not have realized how long that proxy base was up. He might have just thought that Zain is just going for a really fast third and fourth base without realizing how many bases he actually had. So this is going to be crucial. Once again, is he going to realize that Zain is going for this build once again with the proxy, with the fast third base as well? There's so many bases for Zain. He's actually going up to 4 bases versus 3 bases, which is not something you see every day. But Zain is going to be defending this with cannons and a battery. almost daring disOrder to come and attack this. He's going to build sentries. He's going to build all of his defenses right here, which is kind of the shell game. You're focusing your attention over here. He's not looking over here. If you do something so bold over here, if you are able to, even if you lose this base, if this base is mining the whole time and your opponent invests too many resources into killing this, it could still be a good situation for you. So Zain is going to be focusing on building static defenses. He's got a cannon in the main. He's got a cannon at his third base with a shield battery. He might be adding more as he can afford it, but he is mining mainly minerals from his proxy base. This is going to allow him to funnel money into cannons. The first few roaches do come out. They're crossing the map and moving up to the natural expansion of Zain. This is looking very similar to game one. Suspiciously similar, considering that disOrder knows that this strategy is coming. A few force fields from Zain are going to be able to trap one of these roaches here and allow him to start trading away here, but it is still a dangerous situation because if these roaches close the gap, it could be very dangerous. It looks like disOrder is going for the mantra, hit him hard and hit him fast, and now he's got a fair amount of roaches here. This is looking pretty scary. He knows that he can be very aggressive against this as long as he doesn't stand in the fire of cannons, because there are only ever going to be sentries as units to punish him. There's never going to be a blink. There's never going to be an immortal. So he might be able to get a good trade here if he manages to get down this damn ramp, but I don't think he's going to be allowed to by Zain. Zain is the gatekeeper, and he is locking him out. No Ravagers yet for the Bile. 7 cannons in production for Zain, realizing this is a very committed attack. And now Zain is even taking the gases at his proxy base, which is going to allow him to start warping in more sentries. But the main focus here is going to be the cannons. He knows he has to defend. There's lots of cannons at his third. There's lots of cannons at his natural. Skipping the cannons at his proxy base. But now there is a 4th base and a 5th base on the way from the Zerg. He is going to end up spotting this base. Will he realize it in time to pull these roaches back before they die? And it looks like he will lose a few before he escapes. And he's even going to get force fielded off here, taking quite a lot of damage, but not getting completely walled in, so he is going to escape. And now disOrder has scouted this base, so it's going to be up to him to attack it. But Zain has already been mining off of this for quite a while now, so I don't think he's going to be upset with the timing of this. He's already been able to invest quite a lot of resources. He could just recall, to be honest. And now the roach is getting trapped at the top of this ramp. This is going to be a devastating loss for disOrder. He doesn't want to be losing these roaches this early. This is going to swing momentum away from him and allow Zain to be back out on the map. But now this base is very vulnerable. I just can't help but think, why is disOrder not attacking this base? He's taking lots of bases of his own, realizing that the potential for aggression from Zain has been nullified because he's only on sentries. But after that pretty terrible army trade, he might be facing some aggression from Zain shortly, realizing now it's an opportunity to do some damage here. He's going to send roaches here. Zain wisely evacuating this base, realizing it's done its job. It's done lots of mining. Zain now only on 3 bases to the 5 bases of the Zerg. Things are looking very different here. disOrder going up to 70 workers and popping down a Spire and a Hive. If he gets a Broodlord out or Ultralisk or anything like that, any kind of high-tech units, it then becomes very, very difficult for Zain to trade effectively against the army whatsoever. But Zain, with his excellent decision making here, is going to show us exactly what you need to do to win. He's getting this base attacked, which is going to buy him time to put his sentries into the natural expansion of the opponent. Catching out quite a few drones here is going to zip these down in short order, and now Zain's got a very strong position between the natural and the third base of his opponent, and he might be able to start setting up multiple other attacks as well. Lots of panic spines going down for disOrder, but now Zain is in this very powerful choke point, and he might be able to force field him off and kill the natural expansion. This nice little choke point is going to be a very defensible spot, especially with this much sentry energy left over. Zain realizing he's done a fair amount of damage, but I might as well be more efficient holding the top of this ramp. So now the roaches are going to have to turn into Ravagers in order to get up this ramp. A few Biles will let him get back in, but as long as Zain force fields this off, he might be okay actually. With this many force fields, the Biles kind of get nullified at some point. There are a few spines finishing up, but there's no extra attacks from Zain, so it's all the energy focused on this one location. But with good micro, he should be able to lock the opponent out from getting up this base. He realizes this is a little bit awkward because he's focusing on something else maybe at that crucial moment. The Zerg does get up the ramp. This is very dangerous. Zain, does he have a recall available? It looks like he does. Most of the Zerglings do get, or most of the sentries do get out, but I can't help but think Zain's got a great scout here, and he's still got a great economic position. 75 workers to the 70 of his opponent, and better attack upgrades. So Zain keeping himself in this game, taking a 4th base. But I think this is the best position that disOrder's been in so far. He's got his Hive Tech, he's got his Greater Spire, and as long as he... Okay, so these sentries need to be picked up. This is very dangerous. As long as he gets a few Broodlords out, how do you fight Broodlords with only sentries? I mean, Zain told me that he can, but it's got to be hard, right? There's got to be a way to do it, but it's very hard. The Corruptors coming out might be able to do some damage to this Warp Prism, but with the Sentry Focus Fire and the Force Fields on the ramp, Zain's going to be able to zip these Corruptors down before they do any damage. They do fly over the Force Field, but the right click on the Warp Prism is too strong. The Corruptors do go down, or the Warp Prism does go down, but now they're being shifted into Broodlords, which is going to be a little bit awkward for Zain to deal with. He is going to start zipping them down one at a time with a good Force Field on the ramp. He does get one, now 2 kills. Does he get a third and a fourth? Why would you warp these Broodlords right on top of the sentries? I don't know why that decision would be made. Regardless, that is what's going to allow Zain to zip these down. That's one way to fight Broodlords. Fight them before they're Broodlords. A counterattack, though, at the 4th base of the Zerg is going to do a lot of damage, zipping down these drones here. And now it's only 54 workers for the Zerg player. He is making spines, but this is going to be, again, more drones that aren't mining now, and he needs to keep that economy up because Zain's economy is growing as we speak. He's retaken this position here with his sentries, and now he's even killing another Broodlord before it's able to morph. And I don't know how this has happened, but even though the Broodlords happened, because the Broodlords morphed on top of the sentries, they went down, and this is going to be a devastating loss for disOrder. I think Zain has successfully put his money where his mouth is. This 4th base is going down. There's nothing mining here. Zain is in the main base once again in his powerful position, but now he's actually got a bigger army than his opponent does, so he can choose to fight. If he wants to, he can fight on top of this ramp, force fielding off these units. They are biling on the force field, but again, Zain has a million more force fields where that came from. The Hive is being damaged down, but I don't know. This is looking pretty good for Zain. If these guys do come up the ramp, Zain could decide to fight if he wanted to, but it's going to be a recall, realizing that there are Broodlords now finally joining this fight. 4 Broodlords, it's going to be too much for these to deal with. The last few sentries do get a few drone kills, but it's now 60 drones to the 84 of Zain. He's still doing lots of damage with this 4th base here. It does end up going down. The 5th base has gone down as well, so now the Zerg is on 3 bases. Yes, he has Hive Tech, but he's taken substantial losses in both the army department and the economic department. But how do you deal with 5 Broodlords as Zain? It's going to be potentially lots of counterattacks, potentially lots of multitasking focus. You don't ever want to actually fight these Broodlords because you're not going to be able to get underneath them. Now, the Roaches and Ravagers walking right up to these sentries. They are going to just clean them up completely. Going to be a bit of a loss for Zain, but there's more sentries where that came from, and they've already killed a base. So I don't know if Zain minds that too much, because once the units have traded, you know, it's kind of like send them to Valhalla. They are warriors. They've died a beautiful warrior's death. Yes, you'd like to keep those alive. Yes, that's important, but it's not like they didn't do their part in defeating the evil empire of the Zerg. So looks like the Broodlords and the Corruptors are going to corner this army from Zain. He is able to do lots of damage here, and Zain doesn't have a counterattack on this side of the map. Zerg retaking his 4th, 5th, and now 6th bases. With these sentries in the main, they're just a little bit of a distraction, I think, as Zain moves his main sentry army out to his now building base. Zain's taking bases all over the place. He's got a million cannons, which is going to slow the Zerg down from doing much of anything. It's going to at least take him a long time to kill these. What disOrder needs to do, I think, is just turtle up into a critical mass of units, but since he keeps trading with Zain, it's going to be difficult to do so. Zain keeps pressuring him in multiple different locations. It's not going to allow him to get the trades that he wants. Gets his entire army stuck here. This is going to be a great trade for Zain. I think there's so much Protoss and so little Zerg here. Even though it's only sentries, a really nice force fielded off there, and this base is going to go down. I think Zain thinks this is my base. You do not get to keep this. It's going to take me about 4 years to kill this base, but this is looking pretty good for Zain here. It leaves some sentries in the choke point to make sure he is able to force field it off, but with a counterattack here, it's cleaned up, but Zain has forced the units off to this side of the map. Yes, he has Broodlords, but I don't think it's going to be enough here. He's going to lose this 4th base as well. The sentries get a dominant position here, trapping all of the workers. This is going to be very, very annoying for him to deal with, sending him back down to the Bronze Age. So many workers go down. This is completely undefended now. The 4th base goes down, and now Zain is looking like he's in a really great position here. Broodlords are morphing in at the 4th base of the Zerg player, but the base has already gone down. He's in a tragic economic position. Spines do finish up, but there's so many sentries here. I think Zain can actually just fight these straight up. And now the Broodlords are laying siege to the, what is it, the 6th base? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th base of the Protoss. I don't think Zain even cares about this. This is just a decoy base. He is going to actually walk on top of the Broodlords and DPS them down. He does have such overwhelming forces that he manages to get a pretty good trade there. 1 or 2 Broodlords going down. Obviously, Broodlords trading insanely effectively against Zerglings, but Zain showing a little bit of determination there, does manage to walk up and kill one. But now that there are 4 on this side and 4 on this side, it's going to be difficult for Zain to take either of these fights. He's going to need to find a new location. But with all these Colossi hallucinated, it's going to allow him time to get on top of these Broodlords. The Broodlords focusing on the wrong targets. Unfortunately, 3 of them do go down, and now there's only 2 Broodlords left. And Zain is pushing the issue. He's going to force his way into the 3rd base of the Zerg player. He's got such overwhelming amounts here. He does kill 1 or 2. He gets a 3rd one. There's only 2 Broodlords left. He's frantically trying to warp in. There's more in the main as well. The Broodlords are sieging up to this, but now Zain is in multiple places at once. He's even... Oh, he could potentially attack this base as well, but he's focusing down the Greater Spire. I don't think the Broodlords are going to be able to destroy these, so this will be the last of the Broodlords, at least for the time being. A Warp Prism comes in, might be able to lift these sentries up, save a few of them, but the rest of them are going to go down, but not before they get the Greater Spire. And Zain, realizing that there is an opportunity here for him to do some more damage, does send his sentries in, drops the rest in the Warp Prism, kills the rest of these workers, and he might even be able to get the base for his troubles. So Zain showing us some really nice positional play here, pulling the opponent into the main base with his slow Broodlord-based army, counter-attacking, killing lots of drones, and then going right back out. Not sure why he doesn't have spines at these bases, but again, I don't even think it would matter. He is trying to build them now, but it's really the units being out of position that is allowing Zain to do as much damage as he is. The power of the Warp Prism, the power of the multitasking is allowing him to get these trades that he really never should get. But Zain is showing us the raw power of the multitasking, the macro, and the overwhelming economic situation. If you have 1,000 of paper, you can beat scissors with it. If you try hard enough, you can crumple them up and you can push them off of the ledge maybe. A little attack from Zain coming out at this base, realizing he's got another base to attack here. I don't know if Zain has actually seen this yet, but now that he's got the creep in vision, he will know about it. The Corruptors are trying to chase this Warp Prism down, but again, Zain's got so many things going on that he's going to be able to use the fact that the Corruptors are over here as a chance to get some more damage on this base potentially. He's got observers in great locations across the map. Would like to see disOrder make a few Corruptors to allow him to start picking off these observers. I think these observers really are the secret weapon with this build, because Zain knows where everything is. If you look at Zain's vision, he's got stuff all over the map. He can see all the expansions. The one blind spot is where disOrder was able to get a successful base up in mining, which I think is really what's keeping him in this game at this point. There's so many bases for Zain. He's got such an overwhelming economic advantage. 106 workers to the 62 of his opponent. I will say for disOrder, he doesn't really have upgrades. He's never really had the chance to invest in upgrades at this game. He's just continuing. He's making overseers at this point. Might allow him to start trading against these. But now he's got a handful of Corruptors here, which, spoiler alert, do not trade favorably against sentries. They just cannot attack them, unfortunately. Now Zain is walking in his sentries into this base. He's going to zip down quite a few more workers. How many workers have been killed by Zain in this game? 84, 85, 87 now. Just slaughtering these workers left and right. Another bit of a small group of sentries do try and focus down these Broodlords, but this shows you just how weak sentries are against Broodlords. Zain frantically warping in Colossi to try and give him a chance to escape here. Walking the sentries right underneath these Broodlords, realizing this is a great chance to start zipping these down. He might lose a few sentries, but with good micro, he does manage to zip 1 or 2 down. Only a handful now of Broodlords, only one mining base, because this base actually goes down, and only 8 workers here are mining, so only one fully mining base from the Zerg player at this point. Zain is still expanding. He's retaking this proxy base, but now instead of it being a sneaky proxy base, it is a fully fledged, I can defend this kind of proxy base. I have to say, though, this is looking scary despite all the damage that Zain has done. How many Broodlords? 10 Broodlords are morphing. There are still 3 there, so he's got to deal with 13 Broodlords. And this is looking like a really terrifying army. Zain has been fighting very valiantly throughout this entire game, but 13 Broodlords are nothing to scoff at. With double the army supply of sentries to half the army supply of broodlords, you might have a fighting chance at some point, but Zain is going to have to continue to do shenanigans like this, doing a double warp prism drop with sentries into the main, focusing down this hive. I don't even know when he built the second greater spire, but now he's got the hive going down. It's going to be an awkward situation. Looks like he's going to try and siege up this base once again, but it's nearly mined out, and Zain has most of his sentries here. He's going to use this as an opportunity to close in. Zain smells blood. He's going to pounce on this. He does have his army being cleaned up in the main by this huge force of broodlords, but since the army is split, he's going to jump on the broodlords at his 6th base, and he gets quite a few of them down before he manages to back off. Zain replenishing his sentry count, taking quite a few losses, but in the end, as long as he gets 1 or 2 broodlords every time and he has a million bases, he's going to be able to keep this pressure up. Warping in so many sentries, going now into the 3rd base of the Zerg player. He has been grinding him down this whole game. Yes, it's been a much more difficult game than the last one, but Zain is showing that he is able to hold his own against just about any strategy. Even if the opponent knows it's coming, Zain is able to get those crucial trades, get so much of an economic advantage going, and now he's laying siege to the 3rd base of the Zerg. There's just not enough here. There are quite a few broodlords now, warping in 5 more, and this is going to surely force Zain to retreat to this base, but now he's got a million cannons here, trying to zip down a few corruptors, trying to trade for almost anything would be a good trade for Zain at this point. But it looks like he is going to be battered back to the defenses at this base, but the broodlords don't really care about these defenses. They can lay siege to them. They're not in range themselves of the sentries, so Zain is going to have to probably give this base up and focus on counterattacking somewhere else. Zain sending things into the he's sending his sentries in. It's always going to be sentries, sending into this 1 or 2 mining bases that disOrder has, but now disOrder's down to 39 workers. His economy is in shambles. Yes, he has a very, very scary broodlord-based army, but Zain has been grinding him down bit by bit. Now, finally, these are in the wrong neighborhood. These drones are going to get caught out, force fielded out, quite a few of them go down. This was disOrder's chance to get back in economically, but it's not going to happen. Zain is in the right place at the right time. Because of his observers, he's going to zip him down, and now this base even dies. Zain retreating everything, leaving the Colossi to soak up the damage from the broodlings, and now Zain has his sights set on the 4th base location of this, or actually the 5th base location, but there are 2 broodlords just parked here permanently, making sure that the base doesn't go down. A few broodlords and a few spine crawlers is going to make it almost impossible for Zain to assail this base. Looks like disOrder has decided it's time to start splitting up my army into smaller units, but look at these drones trying to retake this base, but they're not mining, crucially, and this base is looking like it might go down as well. Zain realizing I have overwhelming forces. Maybe I can fight this. There's only 4 broodlords here. If I can get these 4 broodlords down, this could actually be a really great trade for Zain. He's stutter-stepping his sentries. Not every day you see that. He's going to use this as an opportunity to zip down these base defenses, and Zain is not even bothering to defend this base on the other side, realizing there's no way I'm going to fight that huge force of broodlords. He's only got 3 broodlords left here. Quite a few sentries have gone down. If we look at the unit losses, it's definitely going to be a lot more unit losses in favor of Zain, but not as many as you might think. Only 3,000 less minerals losses, only about 10% of a difference there. With so many cannons here, Zain's not going to be able to be defeated at this base, but now his opponent is retaking this base, and Zain is being battered back on multiple fronts. This could be a dangerous situation for him. Yes, he has a superior worker and army count, but his army is still not ready to face off against the big boy broodlords yet. Getting caught out of position here is the sentries, but looks like he's going to realize this is a great chance to zip off a couple of broodlords. disOrder not quite paying attention, maybe being a little over-eager with the positioning of his broodlords, is going to lose a few, and now Zain is looking for little pockets of broodlords. Now that he's splitting them out along the map, he wants to get this base back down. He's going to focus it down, zip it down with the sentries while hallucinating Colossi to soak them up and recall on everything to make sure that he doesn't lose to the rest of this broodlord army. So obviously those trades weren't looking too good for Zain at this stage. He's down to a 52 army supply to the 68 of his opponent. Absolutely devastating losses, but because he keeps trading for economy, Zain is able to keep remaking these sentries over and over and over again, and Zerg has just been battered back. He doesn't have upgrades, he doesn't have really a robust unit composition. He's on to only broodlords at this stage, a slow and lumbering army trying to make its way across the map. But since Zain is expanding on both sides, since he's attacking on both sides, the decision has to be made by these Broodlords. Where do I want to go and where do I want to attack? Looks like he's going to concentrate most of them, but look at this Observer just following them around. Zain is going to know exactly where they are. And now he's going to attack on the other side, but there's a lot of Broodlords here as well. It's going to make it very difficult for Zain to attack. He's going to need to catch these out of position once again. And with the Spore here, Zain is not going to have vision of these units as well as he might be able to otherwise, but a little slipperoo of these sentries is going to mean they're going to find yet again a vulnerable position to attack. It's going to be a difficult thing for disOrder to deal with because he's fighting on two fronts. He's not prepared for this third one. This base going to go down once again. Yes, Zain's base might go down here because there is a brute force of Broodlords going in, but Zain is now using this as an opportunity to push in. He's going to zip down one more Broodlord here. If he gets this one, this is going to be the last unit at this base because the Broodlords have been picked off. Now these sentries are pushing into the natural expansion. Yes, this base is going down, but the cannon's buying so much time for Zain. The sentries walking right into the drone line. They're going to force field them off and kill a lot of drones once again. A big warping of sentries in the main base. Going to start putting pressure on multiple positions. The natural's being attacked. The main's being attacked. The fourth is being attacked. The fifth is being attacked. Zain is absolutely everywhere. How is he able to control these in so many places? They're all spellcasters. It's not exactly like they trade well if you don't micro them, but Zain is making it happen one way or the other. Yes, he does lose this base, but I think this is a desperation move from disOrder at this stage. He's on 14 workers, 32 army supplies. Zain has an overwhelming amount of units here. It's now only time to leave. Well played from Zain.